her heart. She thinks they're saying, I'm praying for you. Oh my God. I am so sorry for you, Mel. I'm praying. That is hilarious. I'm glad I can give you a little music. Right, exactly. It's like LOL, Yes. Yeah, but we never I said LOL a couple of years ago. You were like, yeah, I thought it meant something altogether different. I don't remember what. Listen, okay? Listen. Yeah, exactly. Let's do it. Okay. Are you guys gonna watch? Sorry? Yes. Is it on or what? No, no, no. I came from Welcome, La Mama Experimental Theater Club, alongside the League of Professional Theater Women, proudly present the Gilder Coigney, sorry for my pronunciation, International Theater Award. At this moment, I ask you to please silence your phones. In case of an emergency, the exits are staircase B, and through the doors you just came from, staircase A. Now I will leave you with the directors of the program, Joan Firestone and Linda Chapman.
Thank you.
Welcome. We're delighted to have you here and give you a little experience of what it feels to be at La Mama, the theater that is the home to international artists from across the globe. This program is introducing you to an extraordinary number of artists, again, from everywhere in the globe. And tonight we have a moderator who is probably one of the best equipped to not only interview other artists, but to express her own incredible experiences in Venezuela and beyond. She's a producer, a writer, an educator of extraordinary excellence. And she will take you on a trip that you will enjoy and remember.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. I hope I will not disappoint you with the moderation. Well, today we're here for talking about theater education, reaching beyond the stage. We have come together to explore and discuss theater education from two different angles. The first, education, meaning training of theater professional. The second, using theater as a tool for education with the objective of healing social bonds, repairing injustices, and creating a better life. In the case of professional training for theater creators, the most important thing is to open their consciousness to the social responsibility they have as communicators. By that I mean motivating them to look beyond their need for artistic self-expression and enabling them to assume the narratives of the others, the historical circumstances and cultural particularities of the place and time they are living in. In the case of theater as an educational tool, it's all about the invention of customized methodologies that are designed for each culture and local reality, providing an effective way to overcome social injustices, heal traumas, and to transform a person's reality for the better. These two aspects of theater and education are closely related. When the theater creator is professionally educated to embrace their social responsibility, they become ethically enabled to create theater that can elicit cathartic and reflective thought. And it's this, I believe, that can lead to social transformation. All this may sound romantic or overly politicizing, but our panelists today will help me to explore how theater reaches far beyond the stage, transforming people's life. Allow me to briefly present our panelists, who we are honored to have here with us today. The QR in the program has their more extensive bios. Hope Azeda was raised as a refugee in Uganda, but returned home to become one of the leading figures in contemporary Rwandan theater. She is a playwright, director, and the founder and artistic director of Mashirika Performing Arts and Media Company, which since 1997 have done 77 productions. Hope is a pioneer in using art as a tool for peace building. She uses art to promote values of humanity and healing, centering storytelling to help communities to deal with their own traumas and to triumph over adversity. She believes that life can go on if there is courage to embrace tomorrow with love, peace, dignity, and respect. Please welcome Hope.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dear Hope, I will start with a question for you. Would you tell us more about your work as a founder and curator of the Ubuntu Arts Festival, devoted to theater as a form of peace building?
Thank you so very much for accepting me in your space. And it's a great privilege to be in the presence of amazing women doing great things around the world. And thank you so millions for having me. Just to jump to the question you just asked, Ubuntu Arts Festival. Ubuntu means being human. So basically to be like being human arts festival. And why being human? It was sparked off by my encounter with different unimaginable stories in Rwanda when I returned as a refugee, the stories I found, but most importantly, the depth of storytelling that was already embedded in our culture as Rwandans that we had to exploit and just use that as a channel for healing. So the festival takes place at Kigali Genocide Memorial, where there are around 250,000 people buried. And in 2015, I was asked by a leadership course that I was attending to do a legacy-driven project. And they went like, Hope, you have created productions and we've gone like, wow, but what are you doing to leave a legacy? And I thought maybe what I had embraced as art as a tool for social transformation was going to be my legacy. And that is the seed I was going to plant. So the Kigali Genocide Memorial has been we've been partners for over about 20 years now. And for me, I've always found art to be an encounter, and so is life. So when I went to visit the Genocide Memorial, I kept being invited by the loud silence of victims lost during genocide against Tutsi. That loud silence was teaching me to listen as an artist. And I just encountered this whole, the element of just finding art as, and science of listening. The art and science of peace is what I found in this Genocide Memorial. And the power of resilience, the courage to live on regardless of all the atrocities that have been happening, but also the courage to embrace different forms of transformational justice. And it's like, all I have as an artist is art. It's the only key I have to unlock difficult conversations. So just next to the memorial, about 7 minutes walk, there is an amphitheater that sits around 1,500 people. And I found myself that after visiting the memorial, I always found myself seated in this empty space that is supposed to be for art. And I was like, why don't we do art to respond to these stories, to this backdrop of genocide, and address questions? How could 1 million people be killed in 100 days? And just address the issues of what What happens to a human being that one morning they wake up with hate or wake up with love? Can art give us the techniques, the tools to explore what is a human being if we were to unpack a human being and just separate the body, the mind, the spirit? What's this structure called a human being? Because this is the question I ask myself, like even the current events happening now. Why are children? Why a child? Why women being raped? So I really found that there are different ways we could engage using art. And that's how I started, just listening to that loud silence, bringing questions into my life, into my space. So I was like, okay, can we start a festival? And in the leadership course, when I was signing out, you're supposed to, basically they're supposed to push you from success to significance. So they pushed me more to just create this space of using art to talk about the unimaginable stories, because art has the power. Art has the key, has the magic to go to places where even words cannot go. But there's a way art will always get into that space where nothing else can get to. So we started creating this space, and the festival takes place after 100 days of genocide. We start mourning the 1 million victims from April the 7th to the second week of July. So when the second week of July kicks in, that's when the festival comes in. And for the 100 days of mourning, there is a flame that is lit for 100 days at this memorial. And once the festival is lit and the hill is all lit with all the lights of performance and all that, the flame goes down and the lights and art brings the light to this hill. So the festival has been really running for the last, and this year was our 9th year, and it's a theme festival. We always have a theme to have that conversation. And for me, the whole intention of this festival was like, can we just invite other artists to see what happened in our country, take a tour in the museum, share different performances, different skills. And these are artists from everywhere around the globe. And I think in the last 9 years, about 60 plus countries have been to this festival. And it's just that space that helps the audience take a journey of, take an introspective journey to just do that self-checking. Where am I as a human being? What is my role in this journey? Because you find in this kind of incidences that 3 characters. You have a perpetrator, you have a victim, and you have a bystander, and you have someone trying to do something. So where do we lie as artists in these 3 categories or 4 categories of people? And what we also go through with this is just to highlight the 10 stages, the pathway to violence. So once artists know that there's a pathway to violence, and which I always mention number 9 in the 10 stages to violence, which is dehumanization. What is your country in these 10 stages? And what can you do to intervene and become the agent of change in your own country? Definitely production, storytelling, and all this, it's painful, but we have also learned to, go with the spirit of resilience and to know that we need to face the truth, however hard it is, to, rub that wound, and for that wound not to become a cancer or to become a cycle that keeps repeating, that breaks cycles of anger, cycles of revenge, cycles of hate, cycles of bad, so that when tomorrow comes with love, because it can come with anything. It can come with hate, it can come with love, it can come with empathy. So we create a space of empathy whereby we have to acknowledge the fact that my story today could be your story tomorrow, my pain today could be your pain tomorrow, and my laughter and my smile today could be your smile tomorrow. So it is an invitation of storytelling around issues regarding, conflict, but most importantly, promoting values of humanity. I think I took so long to talk about this. I'm sorry.
No, it's amazing. Thank you. Your passion, hope, give us a lot of hope. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's inspiring. And this aspect of listening to the silence and taking it from there, because there is a lot of silence to be fulfilled that we must fulfill, yes. Well,
especially if these incidents leave us in silence. words fail us. Everything will fail you, but silence will always remain. And I have found that silence have worked in our spaces of creativity as another technique. And sometimes we just need to stay silent. And we have received textless, like productions without text. And it's just like one sentence because that's all they have. That's only the language left with them to communicate. I think this was a piece from Iraq. Yeah.
Well, our second panelist is, I'm honored to present her, Catherine Filou, French, Algerian, American, award-winning playwright, librettist, and activist. Co-founder and co-director of Theater Without Borders. She is the librettist of Orlando, the first opera by a woman composer and a woman librettist ever to be produced at the Vienna Staatsoper. Catherine has been traveling to conflict areas around the world, writing plays that address human rights. She is the librettist of 4 produced operas broadcast on Cambodian national TV. Welcome, Catherine. I would like to invite you with a question. Could you talk about how your work in Cambodia, focus on human rights, have helped to create consciousness about the issue?
So when I was in Phnom Penh, Cambodia 22 years ago, I had a production of my play, Photographs from S21, about US complicity in Cambodia. The play's story was set at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City and spoke of the 2 wandering souls in photographs at Tol Slang, which is also known as S21, the extermination center. And a nominee for this year's Gilder Coigney International Theater Award, Morm Sukli, starred in that play 22 years ago. And I guess I just have to stop to say that I thank Joan Firestone so much for bearing with me as I gathered everything I needed to gather to bring Morm Sukli into this wonderful event because she represents so much for me, as do so many of the theater collaborators that I've worked with around the world. And so today really marks a big day for me in many things coming full circle. When that particular performance was over, people would sit in their seats and they would speak and they would cry and they would tell stories. And it was clear to me then, and it's been clear to me ever since, that the play was a shared community experience. And that somehow in that zone that was created, something could exist where people could communicate together in a way that was just impossible in any other form. And so that was one of the things that has inspired me to keep on writing about the human rights issues that I write about. For 30 years, my plays about human rights function in that way. My collaborations with Sukli and many other theater artists provide a map for change. Human rights violations, which are the basis for my storytelling, do not ever exist in a vacuum. And my life's work has been to show the women survivors who are changing our world every day, and to show the stories of how they do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Well, and my third panelist is Vyana Preti. Is a Venezuelan theater director, writer, and a dedicated community leader. She's known for her poignant children's play that tackle important issues like gender, inclusion, and coexistence. I've seen them. I can give faith on that. In 2011, she founded a theater school in Petare, one of Latin America's most challenging favelas. Her free of cost program has empowered over 300 students from underprivileged backgrounds to explore their talents. Since 2018, Vyana served as the Director of Education of Miami New Drama in Miami. But the Escuela de Teatro Musical de Petare continues. Welcome, Vyana.
Thank you very much for this invitation. And also, I'm very, very moved listening to all of you. So thank you.
Would you tell us more about the Escuela de Teatro Musical de Petare? Why specifically musical theater?
Thank you for the question. Well, again, the Petare, for the one that are not Venezuelan, as Lupe said, is the most dangerous and crowded shantytown or slum in Latin America, and sadly now in the world. And that is why we think that we need to have an impact there. So all started with a theater that was in the middle of Petare, because Petare is also a town, a very old one of the first one. So it has like 500 years old, like the town. And around the town, it started to create this slum that is so big that from this center, from this heart, you can drive for an hour and a half and you are going to go to the last area, or barrio, as we said. So it's that big. So we started there because in this heart, in this town, there were a theater that was abandoned, Teatro de Petare. So we start to remodel it and reinaugurate the theater as a space. And then we asked, like, how are we going to bring people to the theater? Because theater was not an option, not a thing, not even like, why I'm going to the theater? What is this here? So we thought that the way that we can start bringing the community to the theater was through the families. And also was the idea was to start to create like a virtuous circle. So if we have students that are doing their shows, they are also going to bring their families. And they are also wants to be spectators of the place that we are going to present there. So it was like, not only like, here is the theater, it's open, come. No, let's create an environment where everybody can feel welcome, and that we are creating also a thing that is going to be impactful, not in short terms, but like in long terms. So when I say we, I refer to Producciones Palo de Agua, that was a theater company dedicated to musicals. That is why it was musical. No, that is like the most organic reason. It's like, we do musical, let's do musical theater. But of course, like for training, musical theater give you opportunities, because you can teach the students to sing, to dance, and to act, of course. I want to say, like, that was like in the beginning, but for us, again, it was about making an impact in the community. That is why our fourth like leg of the table is acting, music, acting, singing, dancing, but also an area that we have named it coexistence. And it's about teach. No, it's not about teach. That's not the verb. It's about create a space where young people and children and teachers, we can learn how to have relationship with one another in another way that is not the violent one. Why I'm saying this? Because again, we are in Petare, and Petare is one of the more violent slum. And this a violence that is not only because of the gangs, but it's also inside, sadly, sometimes it's inside the families. So how can we start to build new relationships through another way to communicate? How is dialogue can affect also the way I resolve the conflicts? So Escuela de Teatro Musical de Petare is not only offering children and teenagers in this area a way to be trained in theater, in musical theater, but also is a platform to our students to become themselves agents of a social change, agents of a change they want to see and they want to propose.
Thank you, Vyana. Well, I have another question for Hope. Theater is much more than only words and ideas spoken on a stage. It includes visual aesthetics, music, costumes, and custom of all kinds. This is how theater is able to achieve deep audience engagement and, as a result, helps people identify themselves on stage. Do you think you need a budget to create powerful and transformative theater productions?
I think if I had waited for budgets, I would never have created anything because there's never any budget for this kind of works, especially the kind of works we do around social justice. They are not like, talking about beauty or, or they're sexual, like all these things that really attract funders and all these things. It's deep stories. And that's what we have focused on, just to really, there's more to the story than what the eye sees, and lifting people's imaginations and going really abstract and just getting that one item that speaks the story. If it is a fabric, if it's a piece of cloth that is 9 meters, it's going to be that piece of cloth that will be everything that will, weave the whole story. So I always look for just that one item that weaves the story. And that's why everything always goes back to that one item. Yeah, because some productions I have created also productions in stadium theaters with like 1,000 people, and it's just open space. And sometimes if this performance goes on tour, you don't take 1,000 people, but you take the story. The story will always thrive, whether there's a cast of 1,000 or not. So I have learned to slash a cast from 1,000 to 12 because that's what the budget of tickets is available. Or sometimes the budget wants 2 people. That's all there is. And we're like, should we be selfish and keep this story, or should we leave it out? So budget or no budget, the story has to live, because we live in a world where budgets for these kind of things are not very fancy for people to listen to, but the story must thrive and must live. And for me, it is the truth and facts of the story that will come more, but also to train our audiences that I don't need to really set up a living room with sofas to talk about a rich man or whatever. The rich man can just show up looking rich, that's enough. Even if he has a nice fancy tie, the message has passed. But the message is not about that rich man. It is the story. And I think the stories have to be amplified more through abstract manners to be manageable also for tour. And sometimes also do like very rural community projects where you have to go deep in villages that don't have electricity, don't have all this, or in refugee camps. And you need portable things. If you can only take the actors, if you have a vehicle to take the actors and the sound system, hallelujah, you have made it. And the story is there to be listened to. So if you can, sometimes we arrive in that village and we say the central piece of this production is a bicycle. Can we have a local bicycle here? That's all we need. So the whole story will go around this bicycle, and it already represents what the story is about. So going minimum, we've been wired into just getting deeper into the story, but most importantly, connecting the story, the soul of the story to the audience, other than, corrupt them with all these wow things, flying planes on the stage and all that. That can be paid to actors, but can the story come out? Can we dig into this story? But of course, when you have the budget, why not enjoy a nice set, enjoy everything, and just sit back and just see a nice movie on stage? Yeah. So without a budget, I think budgets shouldn't write our stories. Our stories should write budgets.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Hope. It's a matter of no excuses to tell the story that need to be told. Yes, that need to be told. Okay, I got lost. Where is my thing? Sorry. Okay, I need to search for it again. Okay. I have a second question for Catherine. How is this possible when theater is produced under difficult conditions created by oppressive authoritarian regimes, censorship, etc.?
I mean, for me, that question is really a burning question that has come to the forefront. And I wrote down the answer so that I could share it as clearly as possible. Because I think we are all in this room positioned to be change makers. And it ties into the great question that Lupe just asked. I have dived deeply into the micro aspect of these stories for 30 years. And now I can speak clearly about the macro aspect of these stories. And I think what I'm going to explain is that by looking at the umbrella of human rights, I have noticed very, very clear trends that exist everywhere in the world. And we all are in that position. And so already by identifying those things, I think we can position ourselves as change makers. In Cambodia, you asked me about, my play provided an entry point that I created, so I was responsible. It found its way into the context of the political time as an island to which people could come. And I would say that one of the reasons it worked was it took me 10 years of lead time on my part to prepare for it. The large-scale picture I have of human rights points me to personally seeing violence against women as a story told under difficult conditions in regimes everywhere. From Roe versus Wade to, for example, honor killing, which was the basis for a play produced in the US and in Iraq with my Kurdish colleague Adalet Germani, and to women and mass incarceration in the United States, the basis of my recent New York City play, What Does Free Mean? Him Sopi's opera, for which I wrote the libretto, was banned by the government, but reached the stage and TV first. My most recent play to be performed at La Mama this spring speaks about my friend Claudia Bernardi, the visual artist activist from Argentina, and her belief in juicio politico. Even after the perpetrator dies, the crime does not. That's what I've seen that theater can do. It can find the window of possibility. How is this possible? That's what we all ask. And then we ask for people to come and to watch. And as everybody knows in this room so well, plays are collaborations that create alternative conditions to defy authoritarian regimes and censorship. They are breathable reconstructions that chart our way forward.
Thank you. Well, there is a new question for Vyana. Most people say that they prefer entertainment than to see the problems they suffer in real life happening again on stage. In the era in which communication systems owners have more power than governments and nations, do you think theater could overcome the mass consumption of easy entertainment? Do you think that theater could remain as the only place in which we are free to talk and think while escaping from the algorithm that nowadays control our minds?
Well, thank you for this question. It is a little bit tricky for me to answer because I was forced, I and my family were, as 7 million of other Venezuelan, we were forced to leave our country because of the government. So, and was the government, and you know that, Lupe, because you are also Venezuelan, is the government that control more the things that we say in theater, that we can say or not to say in theater, in the media, in the film. Right now, it's a lot of conflict because a movie that in Venezuela that talks about the regime. So I think that it's also, it depends of the country, even the state, because I'm now living in Florida. And here also the government has banned books and things. We also in Miami New Drama have a problem because they wanted to ban a play that we have, and we were inviting high school students to come. The one of Anna in the Tropics by Nilo Cruz. So yes, I have been having more troubles with governments than with media, but so thinking about what people wants to see on stage, and for that I think that representation is very important. For example, in Petare, we started with theater, with musical theater. That was a thing. That is not the same for Venezuelan, that for American is not that popular. And little by little, we started to transform the theater, because I think that Hope was saying, Venezuelan and the younger ones, and also the children, need to transform their traumas into art. So, and that need of the student and of our young artist was also transmitted to the audience. So I think that we have to be honest and assume that we are not, theater is not a mass media art. We are not, but we are powerful, and we are also dangerous for the status quo, because the thing that you experience in theater, it's unique. That is why I was thinking about Hope Festival or the opera, going to a opera that was written by Catherine. That experience that you are going to live at the theater, the words that you're going to hear, the breathing of the actors. And it's an experience that is not only like on stage and here out the audience. No, it's a community having the experience together. And I think that there is the thing that makes theater powerful. And that is also, I think, that we're going to survive, because we have survived, theater have survived cinema, television, Netflix, maybe, well, now we have TikTok, but I think we're going to survive because we are offering an unique collective experience.
Yes, thank you, Vyana. Well, how are we with the timing, Melanie? All right. So, I wanted to start the wrapping up with a last question. After exploring all these aspects of theater commit to make a change, I would like to invite our panelists to make a final statement on what do you think about including theater as an obligatory course in all schools. Can you start answering this, Hope, for us, please?
I think most oftentimes the power of theater is really underplayed, but theater is a power. It's a power force. And I think we shouldn't also ignore the power of young people. They've got a power. And if they're used properly and equipped with the right tools, they can be very effective in creating the world they want, you know, because theater can make or kill. I have seen that in my own country, where art was used as a tool to incite violence. But after the violence, it was again used to rebuild. So it can make or kill. And I think people should really see the power of art. It will thrive regardless. And that element of thriving regardless is what it should really, that's the reason why it should really be, tailored in every school education, especially focusing on arts and humanity and looking for because before art helps a community outside your home or your school, it helps you first. It helps you check in and do a self-check-in and pay a visit to self and ask yourself, who am I in this situation? And I think that introspective process is also another powerful element that theater holds. It's a mirror of life. So how do you not have a mirror of life in a school curriculum? I don't get that.
Thank you, Hope. What about Catherine?
Entertainment means to hold mutually or to hold intertwined and to engage, keep occupied the attention, thoughts, or time of a person. So that is dramatic storytelling, which I consider to be my job. Theater does not exist on a screen. As Albert Camus calls a stage play, the night when the game is played, or the afternoon when the game is played. It's always changing. Joan and Linda are creating the historical record of how theater is made by women in the world, which stands on the shoulders of those before them. Claudia Bernardi from Argentina and I worked on a peace-building project on Ardoyne Road in Belfast, Northern Ireland, where there were 2 children's schools. One was Catholic and one was Protestant, and they faced each other on each side of the road. And that road was the source of violent conflict during the Troubles. We threaded together the children's stories in the 2 schools, and there we found the drama. And by the time that we had threaded those stories together, there was no way to tell which child was from which side of the road, obviously. So I ask, what does never again mean? And the children understand what that means. And I ask, why the need to erase? When one has palpably felt the pain of being erased, only the theater can show the way.
Thank you. Wow. Vyana, what do you have left to say about education and theater?
Well, not much. But no, because I'm thinking on 2 things that Catherine and Hope said, like theater as a window of possibility, theater as the capability of thinking out tomorrow. And I think in that way, of course, I have problem with the word obligatory or something that is mandatory, no? But I think that we have to keep encourage the schools to have a space that we can work 2 things, like work together for a common goal, and also a space for children and young people to explore who they are. Because especially when we work with well, everybody, but especially when we work with students in very vulnerable communities, they have a lot of bio and a lot of things that they think of themselves that are not true. I'm not going to be capable to have a career. I am going to be a young mother at the age of 13 or 14. So theater can give also the opportunity to imagine other lives for themselves, because theater it's a space where you can exercise your imagination, not only about new stories, not only like being in the shoes of other people, but also for yourself. Like imagine you in other situations. So I will say like we need to have this space where you can work together with a group with a common goal, and also a space where you can explore the possibilities of yourself.
Thank you, Vyana. Yeah, that would be a change in humanity, I think, if they give that space for kids in the schools. I think I open the mic for any comments and questions now.
Although I would love to hear you, Lupe, answer your last question.
Well, that's what I was about to say, that I think if people can get in touch, only get in touch with the possibility of exercising, being another one, will come back to what they are from a better place, in a better way, refreshed, rethought as a human being, and as the rights and legitimacy, and validates what they are. I remember when I started doing theater, when I did A Princess, I came back home to be Lupe, and I like Lupe very much. I discover her again. And it's a very simple way to say it, because as we were talking yesterday, the catharsis process allows a space for reflective thinking, I think. I'm convinced of that. And it's the same kind of operation when you have the opportunity to do theater, not only to do theater professionally, but to do theater for expressing yourself, for finding yourself, for getting rid of what is heavy on your shoulders. And well, I think instead of mathematics, I would invite all the schools to teach theater. We will have jobs.
Well,
Please identify yourself.
Hello, hello. My name is Alicia Kaplan. I am the producing artistic director of Danizarte, which is an organization that I founded and have led for the past 30 years.
Oh.
Thank you, Lorca. Anyway, we were based in East Harlem, in El Barrio. We opened our doors to everyone, especially the immigrant population, because I became a single parent and I had to support my children. So I will get to the point. It's not about me, it's about you fabulous ladies. Anyway, I found that theater, for me, as a child, opened up so many doors. I was very lucky because my mother, this was in Venezuela, my mother became the choreographer of the founder of the Composer Union, Maria Luisa Escobar. And she put her 3 young children in the theater. I was probably the most shy person ever. But I found that with theater, I look forward to it every day because I could be someone else. I was very happy to be someone else. Even though, you know, I came back, it was shy me again, who would hide in the closet, who would not say a word in school. But if we could give that theater, like you all suggest, to everyone, and then we all could place ourselves in somebody else's shoes, I mean, the world would be a much better place. Because the way I see it now, the world is getting worse, not better. And, you know, everybody has their ideas, everybody has their excuses, everybody has everything. My 5 minutes are up. So anyway, I applaud this organization, and I applaud these wonderful ladies for what they do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to make a little insert that Vargas Llosa says that for what is need to be a writer is a very traumatic childhood. Because it's this need for imagining, for, you know, going forward to get it, to make it happen, is the basic of art and creativity, I think. And so all this about the trauma, the healing, the bad things on stage, that sometimes in Venezuela there is a problem because people say, but I'm not going to see violence on stage. I already experience it on the streets. But it's not true. When you see it on stage, you understand a lot what is happening and how can you deal with it. So that was the input of Vargas Llosa.
Hi, I'm Melody Brooks. I'm one of the organizers of this program, and I'm also the artistic director of the New Perspectives Theater Company. And we had a 25-year history of working in the New York City public schools, from the best gleaming facility in Staten Island to literally an auditorium in the Bronx where pieces were falling from the ceiling. So it is something I'm very familiar with, and also I grew up in the theater starting at 8. But I want to go back to something Hanan said in our first day of these panels, which was, how do we take all this work forward and our understanding of what the issues are and what is needed, and commit to something in the next couple of years this is a triennial award program. But it also is what we're witnessing in this country, and you know, in Florida, Texas, elsewhere, but it's been going on for a lot longer. It is why conservatives and far-right people fear and hate a liberal arts education, because it is what allows you to develop critical thinking skills. It allows you to question your own environment. It allows you to question authority. So there has been a targeted assault starting in the universities in the last 20 years of these very rich people endowing chairs in public universities dedicated to promoting capitalism and market-based. And now all the universities are eliminating many of their liberal arts curricula. You can't, you know, that it's all about money and business. And the humanities departments are being decimated. And now at the public school level, we know banning books, banning, you know, everything, not allowing for that space. It's not something I ever thought I would see in my lifetime, because I, as a kid, had a great public school experience. We had theater, we had chorus, we had art, we had all of it. It was the norm. So I feel like we need to somehow combine our work as theater artists and the things we talked about on Monday, and telling the truth, revealing the reality of people's lives, hoping for changing communities and individuals through a theater experience, but also to galvanizing somehow against this attack on a liberal arts education. And in this country, the most willfully ignorant population on the planet, in my opinion, if you question 20 people on the street, I think one might know that this assault has been going on forever. But I think they're linked. We can't mandate anything right now in our public education system because there's so much backlash. But educating the caretakers of children and why it matters, and getting past their fear, because they fear their kids will be changed, that their kids won't know them or won't like them or will reject their values. But really understanding some of the work that's about dealing with families, right? In the theater in Venezuela, or Hope What You're Doing, a whole community gathers together so that it's that total experience, so people aren't so afraid of it. But I think they're linked. That's a little inarticulate today, but that's what I wanted to say.
The one thing we know, I think quite universally, is that legislators are Philistines. I spent many years in Albany trying to convince the legislators, but what changed them was when we brought art to Albany. And when a dance company came, they melted. It was a non-language experience that had such a strong aesthetic that we started to break through and get money. The education we need to do is to open up those minds to the fact that their kids, they would have less trouble managing kids and gangs and whatever if art were in the schools and they funded them. I was appointed as an assistant to the chancellor of the city schools. And everybody was delighted because they knew, oh boy, Joan's there, here comes the money. It didn't change. The budget dropped to the end, the arts budget dropped immediately. There's a fear of art, and it is a responsibility we all have as people in the artist community to change that perspective.
And for our panelists in Rwanda and Miami, that was Joan Firestone speaking. Please identify yourself.
I am Yvonne Curry. I'm a choreographer, co-president of the Women in the Arts and Media Coalition. I worked and lived in Venezuela for 15 years. I worked on both sides of the picture. I've been back home because of the government. I've been back home and I teach and I cover from Staten Island to Patade. As I sit here and listen to you, all four of you, the knowledge that you have brought here today has been extraordinary. It's been extraordinary for me, not only as an American on this side of the fence, but it's extraordinary having been on the other side of the fence. I know Patade, and actually, living here in New York City, I do not know a place that is similar to Patade. It is very different. And I ask myself, what is it that we as teachers can do, even though we have to go against the system that Joan represents, which I know so well because I'm a part of it. But what can each one of us do in here if it's just to encourage a teacher someplace to allow her students to be creative, to think outside of the box, to work outside of the box, even if we only sneak in 2 or 3 minutes out of a class, because we know that's not what the establishment has on our list criteria for the day. But how can we do it? Because our art form speaks without us even opening our mouths in theater. Our art form speaks by us just moving. Our art form speaks by us just writing. We have a wealth right here in this room. The four of you, what are your ideas? You took ideas and you made them work where you are. Are there any ideas you can give to us?
Anybody want to answer?
It's amazing how day by day, I'm Hanan Haj Ali, a theater maker from Lebanon. It's amazing how day by day things are built up, and there are layers and layers added to what is being said. And what's amazing is that what we were talking all about, it's happening in several parts in the words. And if we have the chance to chat one day about the experiences in Lebanon and in the Arab region, some leading experiences, you will be astonished how the similarities are really common between us. And building on the idea of the first day, maybe we have to invent a new theater Silk Road. Yani instead of gathering everybody in the States, because the visa to the States is a nightmare, maybe we can draw a road that this is our Silk Road of theater, and do the same event, a part of it, in each part of the world, in several parts of the world, especially in part of the world where nominees and finalists are. And whoever from the previous session will volunteer to add to this, it will be a global event. Global event, because in each country it's possible to present plays, some really relevant plays, and with all the technology thing we can, like here, as if you are with us, dear ladies. So it is possible. Let us please, I invite you to think about it, because I really, when I hear every experience, I say, my gosh, the Gilder Coigney Award and the League of Professional Theatre are opening, you can felicitate yourself for one thing at least, is to let us get to know those wonderful ladies all over the world. So thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Maud Dinan, and I am French. And I used to work in the French cultural system. And then I came to La Mama a long time ago, and I was working at La Mama for several years. And I had to leave La Mama and to sort of manage to live in the state. So I did several jobs. I went in business, and then I sold wine for 10 years. And then I went to United Nations, and they sent me to Kosovo, and blah, blah, blah. In any case, all this tragic that I did, I think that I survived because of theater. When I left La Mama, I thought that I was like committing suicide. But when I was in the wine business, I really was good because I had been doing theater before. And then when I was at UN and they sent me to Kosovo, I was not too proud about what I was doing at UN, but I was very proud to be able to use theater to work with the artists in Kosovo. And so coming back to New York now and becoming an old lady, I have been sort of thinking, yes, how can we regain, I am concerned of when I see the audience of theater being so old, and when there are so many young people, and you start working with young people, you realize how they are fascinating and how they jump right into the act and do something. So right now I'm both working with Kosovo still, and I enjoy the fact that it is a new country, and they are really interested in working with not only the Balkans, but Europe, and sort of exchange with other people. So I am very committed to their work, and I'm going back there. But also in New York, I started working with the Trojan Woman Project at La Mama. We have been working in Guatemala, in Cambodia, and in Kosovo, because I knew Kosovo, and we work in Kosovo with Albanians, Serbs, and Roma, and actually with Zana Ocha, which is part of the person selected. And so here, recently, we decided with 4 other women from the Trojan Woman Project to sort of put together a new show, which we are calling Sur, from the novel from Ursula Le Guin. And it's about 9 women from South America, Chile, Peru, and Argentina, who in 1910 decide to, after Captain Scott was in the South Pole, didn't get to the South Pole, but they decided to do a secret expedition to the South Pole. And so it's storytelling about that. And the reason we do that is we want to recommunicate with the different community in New York and around New York, in New York State, and work with, whatever it is, a group of little African-American women in Long Island, or whatever, immigrate from South America or something, and then bring them the subject, bring them our ideas, and exchange with them. And in a year's time, try to build a show that we will do eventually at La Mama. So we are doing a presentation of this work on here, actually, I think. No, the club. on December 12th. And so we invite all of you to come and exchange. And I have papers that I'm going to give who is interested. And I would be interested in speaking to I would be interested in joining your organization, one. And also I would be interested on meeting some of you, because from what I heard, the lady from Staten Island, and I would be very happy to have more information and also have your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have time for one or two more questions or comments. Anybody?
Hi, I'm David Diamond, part of the team here at La Mama. Hi, Hope. Hi, Katrin. It's been fascinating to be part of these conversations the last few days. I feel honored to be in the presence of so many just wonderful, amazing artists who've been here. One of the topics that has come up a lot is this, the idea about justice, social justice, and peace building. And it's been rolling around in my mind, and I'm trying to think about doing Theater of the Oppressed, which I've done, and other forms. Can you talk about peace building amongst oppressors and oppressed without justice for the oppressed? And where does justice come in to being able to have this other conversation? Can you engage and change a community, an organization, a group of people who are feeling unjustly oppressed, and allow them to even have the conversation with the oppressor, to have the conversation enough so that you can reach a place of being able to live together, communicate together, and stop violence. So, big questions, but I'm curious what you guys think about that.
Hope, I invite you to try to answer.
I'll try to answer. I'm so happy to listen to hear just David's voice from Rwanda. I really miss him lots. And I send him 1,000 Rwandan hugs. Yeah, but you know, the one good thing I've seen that really in Rwanda is that theater unlocks conversations. And for me, social justice starts with a conversation. Just because it starts with a conversation, and 1,000 miles will start always with a single step. And I think theater gives that spark, number one, to just explore what are pathways to violence, what is the pathway to healing and to healing. And I think that's what people just need to first understand, that regardless of whether you're a victim or a perpetrator, or you're the oppressed or the oppressed, humans are humans. I could be the victim today, but tomorrow I can become a perpetrator. It's just a matter of something flipping in my system, and it flips easily with just a few words of manipulation. And people just need to understand that that perpetrator you see, or that oppressor, could be a victim as well. So there was a time I was asking myself, could victims of yesterday become perpetrators of tomorrow, or become the killers of tomorrow? And this was just my conversation with the perpetrator of genocide, when he was just asking or telling us that humans are humans. I love children, but I killed children. How do you explain that? He's got love in him, but he's also asking for forgiveness. And in our country here, we had that whole process of, justice and reconciliation, where we are writing plays and screenplays called The Liberating Truth, Speak and Feel Liberated, speak, well, from whatever angle, victim or perpetrator, we just need to speak, because speaking is busting a boil, is busting the volcano, because sweeping things under the carpet is not going to help. But the courage to face that truth and facts, and create a safe space where it's not about humiliation or pointing fingers, and just realizing that in our space of love, in our circle of peace and humanity, it was invaded by hate, by everything that we don't want to associate ourselves with. And how can we deal with that hate? So theater has the power. And for me, that is where social justice starts. If you cannot talk about it, then how would you even know what the problem is? So I think giving everyone a mic and just understanding that even a killer is vulnerable, even the victim is vulnerable, everyone, and hope could be a killer tomorrow, regardless of how hope talks about hope. We just flip. But what works in our system that one day a beast erupts in us, and every human being has that capacity. There is a beast in us. There is an angel in us. So what is it that we open doors to? And I think that is the reason, because people suffer with guilt, and instead of helping them heal, then they become wounded spirits, because once wounded, you live to wound unless you heal. So and theater can provide these spaces of healing, even for the person who murdered or who was, everyone needs a space, whether you inflicted pain or you are the person who got the pain. So are we opening these spaces? Because victimization is really not a good thing as well, because you can become a slave of victimhood. So once wounded, you live to heal, you live to wound if you don't heal. And I think theater creates that space.
Thank you, Hope.
Anybody else want to?
Yeah, do you want to
respond?
answer that as well, Vyana?
Yeah, I was listening to Hope. I remember that one thing that happened to us in the school. It was, I think, 2016, and Venezuela was going through a very deep crisis of food scarcity. And in the school, the teenagers wants to talk about that. But the thing in Petare is that we also have people that like work for the government or are part of the government. Los colectivos is the name. So they are going. We knew for sure that they were there. They were going to the play and see what we are doing.
It's important you explain what a colectivo is.
Yes, the colectivos are like group of civilians that work, like kind of work for the government in an informal way. So they report to the government if they see if somebody is going against the government or having new ideas, or just saying this is unjust, we need water, we need electricity, we need power, we need food. It's like anything that is going, like, make not even a rebellion, like we're asking for human rights. So that are like the collectivos. They're like inside the civil society, and they are reporting. They are like,
And they can use violence as well.
Exactly. So the thing that we decide, and the children and the teenagers wants to talk about the experience of being hungry and don't have any food at home. Because also the government was giving like boxes with food, but the food was in a bad condition. So we decided to do a play without words. So it was like a Herigonza. I don't remember the name in English of that. Hebrew, I think, is the name that you use in theater. That is that you are not talking any language, but just sounds. And it was one, and we want to talk also about the immigration and the thing that what happened in our country. And it was great because these people from the colectivos came and they were like, are you talking about this or no? Because I have felt that. It's like, yes, you were talking about my grandmother when she came from Colombia or whatever. So that is why I am also agree with Hope that we open a space where dialogue can be possible. It was not like everybody is in an opposite side, but let's find what can bring us together. Pain has bring us together. Scarcity, hungry, basic things can make us come together and start to talk about what we have in common.
And something else I would just love to add on is that recently I was also in a conference in South Africa, and there was this musician called Neo Muyanga, and his project is called Amazing Grace. And he started a project called Amazing Grace because he realized that the composer of Amazing Grace was actually someone who used to sell slaves. And after surviving 3 bullets in Brazil, wherever he walked, because people knew what he did, He went back. He's from Liverpool, I think, in UK. He went back and was like, I'm hunted down because of what I did. And he sat down and composed this music, Amazing Grace. So when we all realized that we have been singing this song, the slaves were singing this song. So there was this argument, should we stop singing this song? And I was just encouraging people, no, in this guy who sold slaves lies a voice that is crying and pleading for forgiveness. So if we do not forgive him, that person that is asking for forgiveness, now nobody's an angel on this earth. We're always having that voice that is asking for forgiveness. So if people ask for forgiveness like that, so should we just like put a label on this song that nobody should sing it because it was composed by someone who sold slaves? No. What are the lyrics? Why does this song resonate with everyone? It is because of the words. He did not invent the words, he invented the melody, and the words have the power because words breathe. And I think we need to reclaim those words. Then I also reminded them that right now, our national anthem, which is a very beautiful song, was also composed in a prison here because there was a national competition to compose the national anthem of the country. And the best lyrics and music came from jail. So the government took on that as our national anthem. And it's a beautiful song, all Rwanda, adorned with hills, lakes, and volcanoes. So are you going to see the ink behind this, or are you just going to see what the words and their impact are having on the community? So we need to go beyond competition and everything and just look at the community that art makes.
Thank you.
I was just going to say that we were talking about space and silence, and as we're here in the United States, and we often seem to pose as a bastion of democracy and a lot of things, but we do need, I think, desperately to, in terms of peace building, open the space where we actually acknowledge the Native American genocide and what slavery has done in terms of perpetuating itself as in mass incarceration. And these examples go on. And we are, censorship is happening, as it was just said, but also censorship of silence, of the inability to face the very things that are right in front of our eyes in terms of a country. So I think it may be a sad way to end, but if we look at it in the beautiful way that space is talked about and listening, I think that and we are all antagonists and, the opposite of antagonists, that this protagonist, that can be helpful.
Thank you, Catherine. I wanted to add that it's not only on the macro level, the countries and continents, but also in the home, in the family. Open the space that theater can provide to talk about what is happening inside the house, and it's silenced, and it's not told, and it's, all these fears, all these bounds, and all, is also important. So it's in the different levels, not only in the community and in the big social landscape, but also in the little level of the family and the home. I think that theater allowed us to open the space to talk what is need to be talked about.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lupe. Thank you, Kat. And thank you. Thank you. Here we are. Hello, hello. Thank you so much. I love your idea about the Silk Road. Joan and Melody and I have been so inspired by the process of these last 2 years of putting this week together. And we feel that there is a lot we can do. We have a network now from the five award years, we have a network of 100, at least 100 incredible theater artists from all over the world. And it's up. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. We have 100, at least 100, and so many more because every time we meet a new incredible woman making theater somewhere, she knows 5 or 10 or 15 more. So I think there's something very rich in this, and it's a great idea, and maybe what we want to do is send out, we'll include everybody who's been at these discussions, and ask for your ideas. I think we've got, and as Hope said, you don't need a budget. I mean, Jones raised some money for us to do this, but I want to get the work here. I want all of your work to be here. We need to be seeing each other's work, whether it's, I think the resource of La Mama is fantastic, and a natural home for us, I must say, and I so appreciate it, and you're more than welcome to join us, absolutely. But just to say, it's been a really, really nourishing event. We were just at the Mexican consulate with Petrona this morning, and they want to publish her speeches and Anne Bogart's speech from the other night, for instance, and we're going to put together a publication, and they want to have another honoring then there'll be a book. See, I think these little seeds, there's so much growing already. I can just feel it. So yes, let's continue the discussions. Let's maybe we can have panel discussions ongoing. We don't have to wait and do it every 3 years. We can not give ourselves heartaches and heart attacks and high blood pressure, but make it a natural part of our daily life. And I think that's what we want. But I think we have to close now for the moment. We have one more wonderful discussion to look forward to tomorrow. So I hope you'll all come back and join us at 3 o'clock. And, but for the moment, we can continue the conversation with a reception out on the deck. And we would love to offer you some of Martha Coigney, one of our guiding lights of this project. Martha Coigney was an incredible leader of the International Theater Institute, certainly a mentor to me and to many of the women who joined the International Committee of the League. So Martha was a great hostess, and I think the key to her diplomacy, her cultural diplomacy, was that she always opened her arms, her office, her house, her table to a visitor from another country. So she made these great brownies, and she took brownies everywhere she went, whenever she'd go to a meeting or when you came to her house. So we've recreated Martha's brownies, and we've got some out on the porch for you. So please join us. Thank you so much for being here. There they are. Hello. Can I speak to you? Yes. Well, Hope, thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, they can't use. Yes. So anyway, there I am. Anyway, great to have you, Hope. Yeah. Well, you have to go to the camera though. It's this camera here. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna go back to. There we go. Oh, there we.
Oh.
Switching us over.
Okay, we are here.
There we are.
Okay.
Thank you. There we go.
Okay, now it's more natural.
Now you can see us. Now you can see us.
Hey, Vicky.
I will talk to you soon, Hope. And Vyana, say hello to Michelle for me. He was a fellow at New York Theater Workshop when I was working there. So we've got all kinds of connections. Bye-bye.
Hi, congratulations on all your work.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Por eso despertar, que lo conozco muy bien.